You all know me. I am Dr. Bertelman. We're going to talk about DNA is not your destiny. Again, Nanette and I were just talking. This is an amazing time in our history that we are actually finding out what's going on with our bodies on a genetic basis. They have been able to discover exactly the uncoding of every single alphabet of our DNA, and they're making a lot of major changes. So, the changes that we want to see in our families and our communities are the changes that we have to start with making in our own lives. And that's actually a quote from me. So it's one family, one person, one community at a time, making a difference, sharing the word, and moving it forward so that people are actually understanding. They have legume pasta. Oh my goodness, didn't even know that existed. So every time you share that with a friend and they like it, and they share it with a friend and they like it, we increase their health because we've just increased their knowledge. You are what you eat. That saying has always been true, and it will always be true. I've been trying to find the quote when I was in chiropractic college. A McDonald's French fry stays in our system for 51 days. 51 days. When we eat food today, we do not expel it with urine or feces tomorrow. It becomes part of who we are. It goes into our cells. If the cell can use it, it becomes part of our DNA. This is the danger of thinking that we're not doing any harm to ourselves because I'm just eating a French fry. It's going to be gone tomorrow. That is not true. What we eat today is incorporated into our bodies, into our cells, into our flesh, and it makes us who we are tomorrow. And think about that. Think about our children. What's happening to our kids? What are we feeding our kids today versus what we fed our kids 20 years ago, 40 years ago? Look at the differences in diseases today. In the younger and younger people are becoming more and more sick. And if you look at the changes in food over time, you'll notice major changes in the quality of food that we're feeding our kiddos. And also, truly, the exercises, not exercising. Diet can be poor or healthy, and that can alter our DNA. So we can also pass those changes on to our children. So if mom and dad is healthy, they're going to pass on healthy genes to their babies. This is where people kind of start saying, well, my grandmother had it, and my mother had it, and my great aunt had it, and 10 generations ago had it. It's because that is true. They had a genetic disposition for something, diabetes, hypertension, obesity, whatever that was. That was inborn into their DNA sequencing, just like brown eyes, green eyes, blonde hair is. We pass that on to our children. The great news as we continue through the program is that we don't have to be destined by our DNA, even if we were given genetic material that was less than healthy. While much has been speculated, researchers in 2 independent studies have found ways to tell that we're not just what our parents and our grandparents have given us. The structure of the DNA helix, the double-bonded helix, was actually discovered in 1953. So they were looking way back then, what are we made of? Who makes us who we are? What is the essence of the human being? In 1988, they decided to start a genome project, and they figured it was going to take them about 15 or 20 years to actually unravel the DNA sequence. They did start the project in 1990, and in 1999, they actually found the alphabet that made the DNA sequence of chromosome 22. Now, I did look up chromosome 22 and tried to find some information on it. There's not much information on chromosome 22. If I find some more information on that particular chromosome, I will let you know and I will share that with everybody. But it's not anything in particular, but it is made out of 33.5 million letters. Something else that I found fascinating, all of us sitting in this room today are made up of about 99% of the same DNA sequencing. only small changes passed down from our parents give us brown hair, blonde hair, red hair, blue eyes, green eyes, hazel eyes. I always wondered, why do some people have diabetes or hypertension? Why are some people more difficult with obesity? Why does someone have Sjogren's syndrome or lupus? Why don't we all have the same thing? And it's those small, small little changes in our DNA sequencing that's passed down that give us those little changes in who we are.
From how many parents?
From how many parents?
Just
Your parents, but all the way back to when we were all beginning as humans, because we've all been given that same DNA sequence passed down from great-great-grand-grands all the way down through the generations, whatever happened to them, anyone in our genetic background, all the way to the beginning. So we do carry the DNA from our ancestors from the very beginning with small changes along the way. Epigenetics is the field of showing how our environment changes who we are and also that of our kids before they're even born. So what we do today does determine what our children are going to do tomorrow, and that goes for the color of our hair and our eyes, but also our propensity for diseases. If we're lacking, we can pass those lacking genetic material to our babies. If we're healthy and we're not expressing those genetic dispositions, we can have healthier babies who also do not express those genetic dispositions. Epigenetics, of course, is good news and bad news. Unfortunately, it does in fact prove today that what we're eating, what we're smoking, what we're drinking, and how we're behaving does in fact get passed on to the next generations. So our children are actually getting this information. It's becoming clear that bad behaviors can also predispose your kids. But the good news is that science is also using this information so that we don't have a one-size-fits-all, whether it comes to pharmaceuticals or diets or foods. And this is how we win, because we're not bound by our DNA. We have DNA. Just like we live in Florida, we have hurricanes. We're not all going to be affected the same way by a hurricane, yet some people will be devastated and lose everything, and some people will come through it completely unscathed. The same thing happens with our DNA that we're passing on to our children. We don't have to activate that DNA that our parents gave us, but when we do, it appears that it's just because it was passed down from generation to generation. The DNA we're born with is not the sole determinant of our health and well-being. Nutrigenomics is actually looking at how nutrition is changing our DNA expression. The healthier we eat, the healthier we will be. If we have expressed a DNA disposition for a particular disease, we can turn that around by not feeding that disposition and giving our bodies a chance to correct that DNA change. Researchers believe that only 25% of the difference between how long people live or don't live, or the diseases that they get or don't get, is in the DNA. Everything else is diet and lifestyle. That's powerful. 25% is passed on to us by our parents, and what we do with that other 75% is the most important thing that we can do for ourselves, keeping our bodies healthy. Diet and medications, again, because of the science of nutrigenomics, and is not going to be a one-size-fits-all. We don't have to be bound by only this blood pressure medication is the only one that we're going to use, or only this chemotherapy is the only one that they're going to use. They are actually finding that they can find genetic biomarkers in individuals and make their diagnoses and their treatment perfect for their bodies. So things are picking up. I do expect that in the next 20 to 25 years, pharmaceuticals and how we're actually treating human diseases is going to continue to change. I'm only hoping that we won't have so many diseases to treat. If we can work with our kids today and get them to understand that good whole foods, eating well, drinking well, and exercising are super important, we don't have to treat diseases if they're healthy. I thought this was a very interesting little slide. People are fed by the food industry, which pays no attention to health, and are treated by the health industry, which pays no attention to food. Now, that's why I think this office is a little bit different, because as you all know, those food logs are notorious. I'm on those food logs. They're important, and they're important because they're a teaching tool. It gives us the opportunity to communicate about what are we eating and how is it changing our lives. How is it making us healthy? Is it making us sick? The food you eat can be the safest, most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. We can eat ourselves to death. The food choices that we make on a daily basis can either make us strong and healthy or make us weak and sick, and that is every day. So if we've messed up today, we have tomorrow. If we've messed up at breakfast, we have lunch and dinner. Never give up trying. Never. Every time you put something in your mouth, consider, is this making me healthier or is it not making me healthier? This is me. Don't start a diet that has an expiration date. Focus on a lifestyle that will last forever. Patients always ask, how long am I going to have to do this food log? Will I have to eat this way forever? And my answer is standard. How long do you want to be healthy? Whenever you're ready to not be healthy anymore, revert back to eating processed, sugary foods, reducing your body's ability to assimilate nutrition, making your cells more damaged, not allowing the organ systems to heal and do their jobs. Anytime you're ready, go for it. For me, again, all of you have probably heard, my goal is 120, but a healthy 120. I'd like to be that girl on the Today Show and they're like, Dr. Bertelman, tell us what your secret is. And I want to be that girl that says, at the age of 42, I turned my life around. I started eating well. I exercised. I started drinking great water. And this is what happens when we treat the human body with respect and understand that food is the most important thing. And I tell all of you, and I'll say it again, supplements are meant to supplement your good diet. They are not the be-all, end-all. They are what we add to the program to make sure that you're not missing any nutrients while we're working on the diet and getting that diet perfected for you. That's why as the diet goes on, the first thing we go after is the worst possible thing is those sugars. Second, if we have to, it's the grains, because refined grains are going to turn into sugars immediately in the body, and we don't want that to happen. Third, we start looking at your foods. So you bring in your foods into the office. Let's find out if you're eating what's good for you. Not everybody can eat the same thing, even if it's good for them. My mom can't have avocados. I know, I would be devastated. And see, thank God I didn't grab that genetic disposition from her because I would be heartbroken. I love avocados. I liked this slide. Pardon the bad word. Eat less crap. Crap stands for carbonated drinks, refined sugar, artificial flavors and colorings, and processed foods. Eat more foods. Fruit and vegetables, organic lean proteins, omega-3 fatty acids, and drink more water. There you go. I think I'm going to hang this one up in my room so that every time you guys come and see me, you'll see that up in the room.